Okay.
Busy, booked, exhausted. Your inbox is screaming at you like a siren. Your calendar is still full. Still calling yourself visible and you're just the best kept secret? Turns out I was right there with you, my friend. Wasn't getting seen, was just the best kept secret. Wasn't getting heard, definitely, kind of getting paid. But here, the magic, my friend. It's a collaboration between Coleen Stubbs and Nicole Borghi. The Voice Lab on the school platform shows you how to use podcast spotlights, summit stages, and simplified, yeah, that's right, simple outreach systems so your visibility actually works. Get seen, get heard, join the free Voice Lab on the school platform, and you're going to get it all. Because if you're working this hard, someone else should know about it. Scan the QR code today.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Monday Morning Business Foreplay. This is the strategic warm-up that makes the rest of your week hit harder. Hot takes, bold moves, and business unfiltered. I'm Coleen Stubbs. I'm the founder of Simplified CEO Systems, and I help midlife entrepreneurs simplify their business so that they can lead with clarity instead of chaos. In short, I simplify, go high level, teaching my clients how to simplify their business, what to automate, and when and what they should delegate, and what they should absolutely do themselves. Every single week on Monday Morning Business Foreplay, I bring on experts who share real strategies, resources, and solutions designed to help you scale your business. This isn't theory. This is what actually works. And if you're ready to take this beyond conversation and actually build a business that runs without you, I'm hosting a live masterclass this Wednesday, April 1st at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, from tech chaos to control, where I'm walking you through how to simplify, automate, and delegate your business in a way that actually clicks, because your business should support your life, not run it. Today's guest is Gini Trask, and we are diving into how to turn one podcast episode in appearance into a predictable lead generation system. Gini's going to be sharing how to create simple aligned lead magnet and a 1-page or 5-page resource that solves one urgent problem so listeners can become qualified leads immediately. You're going to walk away with real strategy, real perspective, and probably a few uncomfortable truths, because growth never happens in your comfort zone. Gini, welcome to Monday Morning Business Foreplay.
Thank you so much, Coleen. I just love what you're creating here in the world, and I love that you're helping people to simplify their business. So I've owned or operated 6 multi-million-dollar companies, and systems are absolutely the way to get yourself there in terms of business growth. And yeah, so thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here. So will you tell us a little bit more but personal about you before we start, so that you're a little more relatable to our audience?
Sure. So hi everybody, I'm Gini. Gini like Minnie Mouse, just because once you see it spelled, you kind of go a little haywire sometimes. I'm from a family of entrepreneurs, and as I said, I've owned or operated 6 multi-million-dollar companies. And the one thing that I really found for every single one of those was lead generation was always the headache. It was always the headache for me, whether I was in travel, transportation, hospitality. If we don't have leads, we can't make sales, right? And if we don't make sales, we don't have a business. I really felt that pain probably the most strongly in my very successful travel business. We were doing over $5 million a year in business, and yet it just felt like I was constantly having to like drag fish into the boat, right? And then it felt like the boat was rocking. And I went to an event, I saw a guy stand on stage, and he talked about speaking and how speaking could, get you marketing, leads, and sales all at once. And I thought, this is it. This is the thing. And the very first time I got on stage and did a speak to sell talk, I sold a $5,000 package, which at the time took me 120 man hours in my regular business to make. So I was pretty excited about that, and realized that speaking really was the way to make things happen, and faster, right? More leads, more sales, more marketing, all at one time, just by grabbing the mic. And then I found podcasts, and I realized I don't even have to put on shoes. I can literally reach millions of people just by doing this, getting on a Zoom and talking to folks. And that's when I realized that was the real game changer, right? Is that getting on podcasts could be a way to reach literally millions of people in a year. And so now I've started the Aligned Speaker Academy, and we help our clients get on average, about 100 podcasts a year. So that's what I'm all about.
That's amazing. And I'm going to tell you that I have a little bit more personal reason for wanting to connect with you and wanting to have you on here. And that is this. I use a lot of different AI things, and every single one of them has said to me, quit creating content that's written because you're not connecting with people.
Yes.
You are a talker. And when you talk and communicate through talking, you do so much better. And so for you, you're just like a breath of fresh air. Thank God I can finally be myself and just talk and connect with people. And so I love your message, and I love what you share. And let's just dive into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious if anybody in the audience has been on a podcast. So put a 1 in the chat if you've been on a podcast. Adele has a podcast, I know, because I refer people to Adele from my program. So that's awesome. All right. Anybody been on more than 50 podcasts? Put 50 in the chat if you've been on more than 50. Nicole, of course you have, Nicole. And Adele, of course, probably has too. But yeah, that's awesome. So let me just kind of dive into, and you're right, like somebody said, stop creating content, right? So like, stop creating content and just speak. There's a lot of reasons that I have all of my eggs basically in the podcast guesting. And to be clear, guys, I'm talking about being a guest on a podcast, not starting your own podcast. Not that, I mean, there's people here that have them, that's great, right? But here's the reason you want to be a guest. You want to borrow other people's audiences. Right? You want to get in front, and you want to get outside of your like pond, right? So one of the big problems is that when we create our own show, it's like, okay, our mailing list pays attention, and then, and then we've slowly started to get some other people, but we want you out there, like in other people's ponds, on other people's stages. And why podcast guesting, right? Why is AI? Why is everybody telling you that you should do this? Well, number one, you will create content. Naturally, you will create content, and it will be authentic because you're having a conversation with one other person. It's very engaging, and you're just naturally going to create a ton of content. That's also why we tell you to get on 2 a week, right? 2 podcasts a week. That winds up being 100 in a year. Could you just imagine the amount of content you would have if you got on 2 shows a week? It's amazing. And those hosts are different. So you do get slightly different content. They pull slightly different things out of you. The second reason that I love podcasts is it's long form. In Facebook and all these places, we're constantly told shorter, right? Can you get it down to 15 seconds? You got to grab them in the first 3 seconds, like whatever it is. Podcast listeners are in this with you for the long haul. The average podcast listener listens for 25 minutes. Also, I don't know if anybody here runs ads. You can just like put your hand up in your screen if you run ads. Yeah, good, great. Couple problems with ads. One is the second that you stop spending, you turn off the faucet, right? You turn off the lead flow faucet. We don't want to do that. We want to have a lead flow faucet that's going to stay out there for a really long time. The second problem with ads is a lot of times the quality is not that great. Well, the average podcast listener listens for 25 minutes and makes over $75,000 US per year and has a 4-year degree. So in general, you are getting a little bit higher quality lead. And 68% of regular podcast listeners say that they have made a purchase off of a podcast. And a vast majority of them make purchases, like more than one purchase, from podcasts that they've listened to. So these folks are buyers, they're well educated, they have income, and they are in it with you for 25 full minutes on average. That's a really, really big deal when it comes to, like you said, Coleen, getting to know you. And so that's why I'm so passionate about this. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what to do, right? Because it's great to have the content. It's great to be on the, on the podcast and get that content piece. It's also a wonderful SEO builder, right? What we want are these little sound bites that link back to us, because every podcast is going to link back to you. And it's fantastic for SEO and GEO. GEO is the AI search. So we've got all that going for us, but we want like cold hard leads in our deposited into our email subscription list, right? That's what we really want. So I'm going to pause for a second and see if you have any questions, Coleen, or anything you want me to highlight before I get into the actual lead generation part of it.
Gosh, you know what? I love, and I was going to mention earlier, that you also refer guest speakers to my show. I appreciate you so much for that. The quality of people is amazing. But I think you're right on. And what a dream it would be to just not have to worry about the ads, not have to worry about creating content. And I do like taking the short snippets, and I do this for my clients. So, or for my guests. So Jenny, when you leave here, you'll get a few short clips from this, and they're going to be different than anything else. Exactly what you said. So many different ways to use that. And I love teaching people all the different ways to do that. So if anybody doesn't know how to do that, put a me in the chat, and Nicole or I will reach out to you and teach you how to use your snippets to get something content worthy that you can spread around on social media. But does anybody else have any questions for Becky real quick? I see, or for Jenny. Becky does. That's what I meant to say. Go ahead, Miss Becky.
So you're saying get on 50, excuse me, 2 to 3 a week. And where do you find all the podcasts, first of all? And should you just get on any podcast, or should it only be certain kinds?
That's that's actually a great question. That's a great question. So, and Colleen's shaking her head no.
I know, I saw that.
So here's why we recommend 50 to 100. So I'll say this: your first 20 podcasts are just practice. Okay, so especially for those first 20, now you do want to be, the more aligned that you are with the host, typically the better conversations you have. The more you are aligned with the host, typically the more that you're aligned with the audience. There's a reason that my company is the Aligned Speaker Academy. And there's a reason. But your first 20 podcasts are just practice, because what happens is the cream of your message rises to the top during those first 20 podcasts. So that's why I do actually encourage you to not overthink it too much for the first 20. Now, someone like Nicole, who's probably been on over 100 podcasts, hosted her own show for a really long time, right? Her message has risen to the top, but it's a natural process. Part of what's great about it is, with a podcast, as opposed to just what we call straight speaking, you can see the host react. You can see them be like, oh yeah, that was great. That helps you to refine your message. So that's the first part about the quantity. All of them should turn into SEO build, right? GEO build, because they're going to link back to you, as long as they have what's called an RSS feed, which most of them do. So in terms of being super picky, so in terms of being super picky, what I find, and it kind of naturally occurs, bigger podcasts tend to have waiting lists. So great news, go and apply for some bigger podcasts. While you're waiting, do some smaller podcasts. And I will say, it's not really the size of the podcast that matters. What I say matters is the alignment with Nicole's like, it's not the size of the podcast, it's what you do with it. Here's why. I mean, this is Monday Morning Business Foreplay after all. Let's talk about podcast size, ladies and gentlemen. No, but because if any of you have ever spoken in person, you know that sometimes a smaller room is a more highly converting room. I spoke on a podcast that kind of a setup similar to this. There were about probably 15 people in the room. I made like 3 sales that within a week from it, because it was very aligned and I could really jive with the people. So so when you're doing this, I don't want you guys to focus on the size. I want you to focus on the alignment with, with your messaging, with who you are. Do you think you would have a good conversation with this person? Those are the things to think about, because a smaller room is sometimes a more highly converting room. And we're going to talk about what you need to have to get when you get on that podcast, so that if people do want to hop in with you and take that next step with you, they can. That's more important than the size of the podcast. And so I wanted to be clear, because a lot of times people ask, like, does it matter what kind? Most people are in the back of their mind thinking about the size of the podcast. And for me, there's so many other benefits to it that I don't really focus on that part. Now, in terms of where to find them, there's some good places to find podcasts. So Need a Guest on Facebook is a good one. Need a Guest on Facebook. Speakers Playhouse is where we all met. Coleen and Nicole and Adele, we all met on Speakers Playhouse. That's every Thursday. It's a completely free networking event. And then there's a Need a Guest, Be a Guest. So there's the Need a Guest Facebook, and then there's another podcast. It's like Podcasters on Facebook. It's like hashtag Need a Guest, Be a Guest, something like that. That's a pretty good one as well. I've been finding a lot of opportunities there. And yeah, those are probably the top. Podmatch and Talks.co. So Podmatch and Talks.co both have paid versions as well, where you can get matches. I personally don't love the way that they match up necessarily. I think they're a little too choosy sometimes. And so you miss out on opportunities. Like, so for example, in my program, we introduce you to 2 shows a week. I kind of help decide the alignment, but I have had clients come to me and be like, I do not know why you recommended me to this show. And I'm like, let me tell you why. And then I explain them and they're like, oh, makes total sense, right? The way to kind of think about it with podcasts is, if we took 100,000 people and put them in a stadium and we asked them if they were your target market. If I said, are you a business owner? Right? How many people in that stadium would stand up? Like a giant portion of the stadium. And then if we said, okay, now stay standing or stand up if you know a business owner, even more people would stand up. So the truth is that you have the power to reach hundreds of thousands and millions of people through podcast guesting. And there's a pretty good bet that your target market is out there in that audience. Now it's a matter of having them realize that your talk is for them. And that's kind of what we'll talk about next.
Okay, thanks. I have 2 interviews for podcasts today. So
Great. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love
I'm
that,
excited.
Jenny. And I will say too that sometimes even the small podcasts, so like I feel like this is a small one, but I try to maintain a 3-month waiting period so that I'm not in a panic to find a guest. So I try to keep that ahead. But also I feel like there's such a process, because I do want my guests to be aligned, and there are some I feel like you have to bring certain things to be a guest. And so sometimes that weeding out process is a little bit too and takes a minute, but I would encourage everybody just to apply, but make sure the audience and everything is aligned, and then just start applying, start trying.
Yeah, that's the name of the game. So in the other thing we do in my program is we actually show people how to do the searches. So they're not just relying on R2, because we actually really want you to do, if you could be aiming for 3, you'll get 2, right? So we teach you we give you a pitch template, we do all this stuff, but we do that because honestly, guys, this is a skill that all of you should learn as business owners, is how to pitch yourself, because you can use that same pitch to pitch yourself to the media, right? You can use that same pitch to pitch yourself to paid speaking opportunities. And what I recommend is you guys just make yourself a little tracker, like make yourself a little spreadsheet, and put every single opportunity, whether they say yes or not, put them in a spreadsheet, and keep track of what you've applied to, who said yes, and follow up with the ones that haven't. I teach everybody to follow up 4 times before you give up, right? So follow up 4 times before you give up. Now, the next piece of this, of course, is there's lots of people here probably who have been on podcasts, but maybe didn't feel that they got leads from it. Has that ever happened to anybody? You can put a 0 in the chat if you spoke, but didn't get any leads. Yeah, that happens. People come to me all the time and they're like, why would I buy your program? Because I've been on podcasts and I didn't get any leads. And I'm like, well, it's one of 3 things is why you didn't get leads. So we're going to go over those 3 things right now. And just one more little plug for podcasts. Remember how I talked about the faucet, and that, like, when you turn off the ads, you turn off your faucet. with a podcast, I want you to imagine if we're trying to fill a bathtub, right, with leads, and you just turned on one faucet versus 100, right? So that's why I focus on 100 podcasts in a year. So you can imagine you have all these different faucets turned on. How fast would that bathtub fill up? And some of them are little tiny, like they're just dripping, and some of them are just flooding. And that's okay, because as long as those podcasts are alive, those leads are going to be out there. So what do we want to do when we get on the podcast? First and foremost, the most important thing you can have is a simple, aligned lead magnet that makes sense with your talk. So what makes a good lead magnet kind of changes with the times, but there are some things that are sort of evergreen. So if you guys go to greatleadmagnet.com, I'm going to give you a free gift, which is just, I'm going to literally show you in 5 minutes how to make a lead magnet. People get very caught up on this. And Coleen, by the way, helps you with Go High Level. I'm sure she can show you how to do it. I don't have a Go High Level video, Coleen, but if the principles are the same. So when you go to that webpage, if you guys are looking at it now, if you go to greatleadmagnet.com, you're going to see there's really nothing on the page. It tells you the results that you're going to get right at the very top. And we always want to lead with our results in our lead magnet. So the very top is what you're going to get, how to create a lead magnet in less than 5 minutes. Then all I'm asking for is your name and your email. The more information we ask from people, the more what we call bounce we get. So we want to keep it simple. We don't want multiple paragraphs. We don't need a VSL. We don't need a video sales letter to get somebody's email address. Okay. We just need a very compelling result. And I'm here to tell you that most of you probably need this little short video that you're going to get when you put in your email address. And the reason I can see you guys signing up, thank you so much. So when you do that, you're going to get this little video. And here's why it's so important that we just focus on simplicity. People get very easily overwhelmed. They get very easily overwhelmed. So we want to speak to the results. We want maybe 1, maybe 2 lines about the results that they're going to get. And when we're just going to ask for their name and their email, very clean, very simple on the page. I would recommend, even if you feel comfortable, just ask for their email. There's a lot of other ways that we can go and get their phone number, their name. We can get all these things. And I know people are very big on text opt-ins. Guys, there's a lot of challenges with text opt-ins. There's a lot. Good old email. Good old email is tried and true. We have been doing email marketing for decades. Alex Stern, the creator of Constant Contact, is actually a really great friend of mine. He is the first person to ever put together a email marketing thing like a MailChimp, right? So now we all know MailChimp. Most of us probably don't use Constant Contact, but all right. So that's thing number 1. We want it to be simple. Okay. In terms of trends of what makes a good lead magnet, tried and true, there's a couple good things. One is I've done the hard work for you. I've already done the hard work for you. Some of you guys in this room know Frank King. He is a TEDx coach. Frank King's lead magnet is 20 TEDx's, a list of 20 TEDx's that you can apply to right now. Great, right? Who doesn't want that? It also needs to feel like a natural piece that you need to have. The beautiful part about speaking is when people show up to your talk, they are saying yes, not only to you, but they're saying yes to making a change or moving forward in some aspect that's related to your talk. That's why they're there. So anything that you can do that helps them make that change. I will say ebooks and things like that don't do super well. Workbooks do pretty well. If you're going to do a quiz, sometimes assessments and quizzes can do well, but if you're going to do that, don't wait till the end of your assessment or quiz to get their email address. Get their email address and then have it linked through to the quiz so that whether or not they complete it, you still get that information. So that's a little bit about like what makes a good lead magnet. And yeah, solving one urgent problem, right? So you guys now, I gave you where to go look for podcasts, right? But if you don't have a great lead magnet for a podcast, you might have a challenge actually getting leads out. So yeah, Nicole said solutions. Because again, I want you to turn on all those faucets, but I actually want you to put the bathtub under the faucets. You can collect the leads, the lead water. That's what we need.
So, and Gini, I would add too that I think if you do your business, if your goal is to simplify your business, which mine always is, because my life is chaotic. I don't need my business to be.
Right?
And so I try to take the foundation of my business, and I've built my lead magnet off of that. And it is a simple checklist. It's a checklist that teaches you how to simplify, what should be automated and what should be delegated and when and to whom. And so it's a simple checklist. But the thing is that's the basis for like my masterclass. It's a basis for my content. It's the basis for my podcast. It's the thing that I teach all the time. And so even though it might be 2 pages, but whatever it is, it's just a short checklist.
Yeah.
But it's simple and it's so relevant to what I teach. And so I think that's hugely key, is to make sure that it is strategically tied into the foundation of your business so that it is evergreen. It will always work for you, meaning that if you come on my podcast and I share your lead magnet, and then somebody rewatches the podcast in a year and your lead magnet is still there, they can still actively use that and participate that way. And so when you do things that are a little more scattered, or maybe they're off this branch of your business or off that branch, then they don't necessarily stay evergreen and they're not pertinent to the main message you have. And that's huge. Just make sure it's your foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it is, right? Podcasts. I mean, guys, there's podcast. I have a client that got a $300,000 sale off of a podcast that he recorded 3 years ago. 3 years ago, and he just got a client off of it. You know, I have another client that just got 2 back-to-back sales off of a podcast she recorded like 6 or 8 months ago. So yeah, you do definitely want it to be evergreen. Thank you for chiming in on that, Coleen, because it is important, because the podcasts are evergreen. And it doesn't have to be complicated. You guys don't have to overthink this, right? In terms of what it should be. It's just kind of like, what's that natural next step, or that little thing that fills in the gap for them? If you are a spiritual entrepreneur, activations or meditations do well. I do some spiritual work as well, and my meditations, like they're very, very popular in terms of a lead magnet. Yeah, so they need that clear next step, and it does need to be evergreen. Now, here's the other little secret. So I said there's 3 things. There's 3 things that people don't do. So the first thing is, your lead magnet isn't necessarily compelling, or it isn't aligned, or somehow the audience isn't moving that way. Second thing, really simple. You guys notice I gave you a very simple URL, greatleadmagnet.com. Pretty much everybody is going to remember at the end of this that my lead magnet was greatleadmagnet.com. The reason that matters is the majority of podcast listeners are actually not sitting down on a computer like all of you guys that are here in our audience are. They're working out, they're going to the gym, they're going to the grocery store, they're driving in the car. So we need what we call our sticky sound bites that match our URL. And we want a simple URL. We don't want to use our name. We don't want to use something that's like Coleen, for example, has 1 L in her name, right? Some people spell it with 2 L's. So we don't want something complicated or a name or something like that. So you've got to kind of think this through, when you're picking your lead magnet. So greatleadmagnet.com. I think I probably also own goodleadmagnet.com, pretty sure. But greatleadmagnet.com is super simple. So what can you do? And I encourage you, again, I said, as the more that you do, the cream of your message rises to the top. What are the phrases that you find yourself repeating over and over? With our clients, we go through a process called developing out your core truth. So when we develop out the core truth of your talk, often that matches that URL, but it's got to be something that sticks in their mind. Okay, the third big mistake that people make is when the host at the end says, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much for being on the show. You were so amazing. How can our audience take the next step with you? How can our audience get in touch with you?" Folks take that literally. And they're like, "Well, here's my phone number. Here's my email address. Here's my website. And here's all my things." Nope. Lead magnet. They can connect to you through your lead magnet. And people think that sounds icky until I'm going to tell you how to say it. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I would love to connect with all of you out there. And so I did offer that free gift. When you grab that, you guys are going to get an email from me right away, and we can connect further from there and see what I might be able to help you with. That does not feel bad, right? Because it's true. You are going to get an email from me, and we can connect from there. So, that's the way that I always teach people to respond. So we always want just one thing. That is the most common mistake I see people make, is that they direct people to their website and everywhere but their lead magnet. And instead, it should be all roads lead to the one thing, which is the lead magnet.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, it's, and as you know, Coleen, then, right, what they need is, of course, a great automation. So I don't do the automation part. Coleen does that piece, right? But what you guys need is a great automation to follow that up.
Yeah. And so many people, that's kind of the next step. And I see so many people leave their leads on the table, and you can only scream it so many times, like, you are leaving money on the table. You have to take those leads and get them into your automation. And so that is actually the singular part that I teach inside Voice Lab, is how to take your leads from your podcast, your speaking events, your virtual events, anything like that. Take those leads and get them into your automation so that you're carrying on the conversation. So many people are like, but I don't want to talk to them. I don't know what to say. What do you mean? You just had a conversation.
You did.
On the conversation.
Exactly.
I want to hear from you.
They do.
Chatting. And so you do that. You just keep chatting with them. And once you've come from a podcast, especially one that's like this, that's interactive, where we open the floor up for questions, then you also have questions you can add in your automation and answer. You can say, hey, this came up, and you can answer that again in your email automation for all the guests. You can ask what resonated with them. You can ask if they have more questions. You can explain your lead magnet or walk them through it. There's so many things to do that you can just carry that conversation on. So important.
Yeah, I think people do. I think they get lost in the what to do next. And you hit the nail on the head, because you said they want to hear from you. That is 1000% true, guys. We all know what's going to happen when we put our email address in. They're going to email us.
Yeah.
If we didn't want that, we wouldn't have put our email address in. And they can always unsubscribe. But the statistics are, in general, 30% will buy right away. Within 30 days. Within 30 days, you're going to get 30% of people that are going to buy right away. Then you'll have another 20% will buy over the course of like the next 90. And then everyone else will trickle in over time. But only if you are continuing that thread of energy. So if somebody comes, so imagine that you've listened to a song that you love, and you're like, oh my God, I love this person's voice. I love this song, and I want more of them. And then you go out and you search, and there is nothing more. This is it. That's what happens when they only get one email from you at the end, after getting the lead magnet. They came to this talk to solve a problem. You gave them a piece of it, and they've connected with you enough to give you their email. If you don't continue to communicate with them, you have messed up, not them. They didn't do it. They did their part. They reached out and they gave you the only thing that they can give you to connect with them. If you don't continue that connection, that's on you. And you're kind of depriving them of you're depriving them of moving forward, because they came to you to move forward. And so it is that important. It is that important that you follow up with people once they get your lead magnet. Yeah, they want your juicy goodness. They really do. And so if you don't contact them because you're afraid of bothering them, right? Right. What are the big things you find, Coleen? People are afraid of bothering them.
Or they don't respond in a timely manner. I do my due diligence. Like, if you don't get back to me for a month, I will go search you out and find out who you are, because honest to God, I've forgotten already. But if you respond quickly, and I don't mean in minutes, I mean within 24 hours. So you have time to go in and edit your automation a little bit to be more inclusive of what was actually spoken about in the podcast. Because honestly, sometimes we go into a podcast thinking this is a topic and this is what we're going to speak on, and then somebody comes in sideways with a question and it turns a little bit. And so you can go in, you have time to go in and edit that and personalize it a little bit more, and then let the automation begin. But it's got to be a timely thing. Also, when you respond quickly, it shows that you're in control, that you are the expert in your business. You are behaving as a CEO. In order to be a successful CEO, you have to actually act like one. And so when you start doing that, it builds the habit, and people expect to hear from you. When they don't hear from you, they forget. And I don't think everybody does their due diligence. I think if you wait 6 weeks, wait 4 weeks before you respond, I think people have forgotten who you are.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You want to stay top of mind. And I really, I worked with a company for quite a while that they did what's called daily email. And everybody's like, oh my God, I could never email my list on a daily basis. Okay, so if you had a brick and mortar store that sold whatever you sell, right? And it was on a street corner that had, 50,000 people that were going to walk by it every day. And you only opened once a week or once a month. Anyone would tell you that if you wanted more business, you should open more often. And if you think about this, so our friend Kimberly Crow, Coleen and Nicole and Adele all know Kimberly. She has a mailing list of about 60,000. She emails them every single day, sometimes more than once a day. She has like a 56% open. No one's bothered, right? If we don't like it, we just delete. They'll just delete it. And there are people that unsubscribe, right? She's probably had 20,000 people unsubscribe.
Yeah.
But if you notice though, for all of us that really want to buy something, we don't take ourselves off the list. If it's something that we really connected with that person, we don't take ourselves off the list because we want the thing. Have any of you guys ever, we don't all just buy things instantly, right? We plan it out in our mind sometimes. We think, okay, I really want to do that. And maybe it's not this month that I'm going to do it. Maybe it's next month or the month after. And so I want to stay on this person's list because I want to remember them. I want to remember that I want to do this. And so I'm going to stay subscribed. And so you'll continue to get those emails. And then when the time is right, you'll act. But, I can't tell you how many times people get like they're 3 feet from gold, but they stop digging, right? Or they stop emailing because somebody didn't respond right away, or someone isn't opening their emails, but they may be seeing them and filing it away that in their mind, I'm going to work with that person. It's just not now. I had a client, in this company that I was advising, their average client received 120 emails from them because they did daily email before they bought. And I asked a couple of the clients that I worked with, and one guy, he received 65 emails before he got on a call to make a sale. Another guy got I think it was 78 emails before he, got on and made a sale. But they weren't quite ready yet, or they just needed the consistency. Guys, I'm one of those people. I've owned many multi-million-dollar companies. I normally have an accountant that pays for things for me. I'm the same way. If you send me an invoice, you better hound me about that invoice, because I'm used to just sending it off to accounting and having them pay it. It doesn't mean I don't want the thing. I do want the thing. Just busy. And
I think part of the key to that is to make sure that you absolutely deliver great value in your lead magnet or whatever gets them in, because sometimes I stay on email list because the value was so great.
Yes.
And I'm waiting for something else that's going to resonate and tick the next box. And so I stay on these just for that. And then back to the brick and mortar. So I'm not going to say I'm the brick and mortar queen here, but 8 brick and mortar businesses later, I will say that my last brick and mortar business was in a small town of maybe 2,000 people in that town. I don't know. But in order to draw attention to my business, every single day, I rolled my 7-foot chicken out to the street. You can't even make this up, right? Like, this is Chicken Lips Boutique, LIPZ. And so every single day I roll my little gold and black chicken that's 7 foot tall out to the street, and I chain it to the post on the sidewalk. And then I attach gold glitter balloons to it. Why do I do that? To draw attention to the fact that I'm open, because it's a small town and not everybody's open, but I want people to see that. And so every single day that we're open, you can tell from far away that we're open and make your way down the sidewalk to us, right? And then I also had dream catchers nightly rentals. And so I would attract clients that were looking usually at dusk. And so I had a sign by the street that was all lit up and had beautiful flowers on it. It just looked warm and inviting. Always had the porch lights on all of my homes so that it looked like somewhere people wanted to go, right? And so that is so important, to make sure that your lights are on, to make sure your chicken's at the street, right? All of those things that are going to draw attention to you. Oh, I think we kicked Ginny out. We just added her.
There she is.
Are
Okay.
you back, Ginny?
There she is.
I'm back. I'm on two. Okay, hold on.
Recording in progress.
I let you in on both of your things. So as I was saying, Ginny, you probably missed is that I had my I would drag my chicken out to the street, 7-foot chicken that my husband brought back from North Dakota in the back of his truck. So I just imagine the chaos, right? Attach my gold glitter balloons to it so everybody from blocks away could tell that I'm open. That's the idea. You want to bring attention to yourself. My nightly rentals at Dreamcatchers, we had 5 of them, and I had a beautiful sign out front that was lit up at night, had all the flowers, looked like a home you'd want to hang out in, had the porch lights on. Why do we do this? Leaving the porch lights on is the same thing as sending the email. It's letting people know that you're open, that you're welcoming people to come in and do business. And so it's so important to make sure that your chicken's at the street or whatever that looks like for your business. You know?
And people get really caught up in what to send via email, right? And I'll just say this, you talk about a simple business, Coleen. So Angel Tessie, really good friend of mine, founder of 90 Day Author, also Media Firestorm, they would send emails every day. Would just get sales calls, and all that they did was speak on podcasts, have a great lead magnet, and email their list. And they did like $1.8 million in a year just doing that, not running Facebook ads, not doing any of that, right? When I look at Kimberly gets all of her leads from speaking, right? She as an experiment just for fun ran some ads for a while, and she's like, yeah, right, wasn't really worth it. She's like, I just want to see the difference. Those people you speak, you get them into your funnel, you keep emailing them, and the business can be that simple. That's how I run my business. I don't run ads, I don't do anything like that. I speak, I get leads, I make sales. It's really, really simple. And with the email piece, it doesn't have to be, guys, you guys don't have to write these big, deep value emails all the time. You can just talk about your life and something that it relates to business.
I love that, Jenny. And I'll tell you that I send my newsletter each week starts with a section called A View from Inside. And so it's always a farm lesson I learned, because I'm very much a farm girl. It's always a farm lesson I learned. And then maybe it says, I wonder how the farmers relate to this. This is how this situation, and I relate my business and my farm life, always tie them back together, whether it's delivering sheep or growing a crop or not being prepared for a storm or an onslaught of customers, whatever that looks like. I'm always just comparing the two. But a couple of the fun emails that I love getting, my friend Billy Salmon sends them out on a regular basis saying, if you meet anybody this week, you need to meet this person. And he promotes somebody that he met that week that just really resonated with him. And I always read those because I'm such a people watcher and I want to know all about the people, right? So I always read those. And then other ones where they have an entire business model, and then a couple times a week, they send a tip that is pertinent to their business. It's just a tip. Literally, it take you 10 seconds to read it, but it's just a tip and something to think about, whether it's a quote or a different way to do things or a different way to see things, but just some sort of tip like that. I love those. And so they're super simple and easy.
Absolutely. Yeah, this does not have to be something that you guys labor over, right? The business model can really be this simple. Speak at least twice a week. Get on 2 stages a week. Get leads when you do that. Email those leads at least 3 times a week. And like Coleen said, one can be a meet this person, one can be a tip, and one can be a story that relates something that happened in your life to the way that you interact with clients or the way that you conduct business or the breakthroughs that happen. That's 3 emails. That's really simple. That's a really simple way to run your business. And I will say, for me, if anybody is out there and they're kind of struggling to make enough sales, the fastest, easiest and best thing to do is to go ahead and sell whatever your higher ticket option is, than to focus at that stage on selling a whole bunch of like $47 products, right? Go ahead and swing for the fences a little bit. Let's get some sales calls on the calendar for that more high priced thing. And then from there, once we've got some good revenue coming in, then we can focus more on the low hanging fruit. And that's, it's different advice than you get from some of the marketing gurus out there. But the fastest path to getting money into your business bank account is to go ahead and even if you have a small amount of contacts, even if you've only got 300 people on your list or 1,000 people on your list, if you could make 10 sales, right, of your higher ticket program to those people, and the numbers can definitely work out that way, right? If you had 300 people, right? If you did a 10% conversion, right, that would be 30 people that you could book a sales call with. And out of that, if you're, the founder of a business, most founders convert at least 20%, some convert higher. So this is simple stuff. But the biggest thing is getting the lead flow in the door. So you want to have a great lead magnet. You want it to be something that is that natural next step. And you want to be sure that when you are speaking, all roads lead to that lead magnet. Now, there are other little mechanisms that we can pull along the way. I have a talk formula that I do teach, to make sure that we are moving the audience forward, that you're always giving them value, and that value does tie into the action that you're asking them to take at the end. So for anybody that does get the lead magnet today, I will respond to you, because like Coleen said, I actually personally respond. So when people download my lead magnet, I send them an email, like a personal email. I literally do. I write back. I'm like, hey, thanks so much for downloading my lead magnet. And like I can do that. I have plenty of time to do that. My business is very simple. To Colleen's point, I can write an email to somebody who got my lead magnet. So for everyone here who's here physically with us right now, that's watching this and getting that lead magnet at greatleadmagnet.com, I'll also send you that formula for the Align Speak to Sell formula, just to make sure that your talk is moving folks along towards actually taking action with you.
Oh, Nicole, great minds think alike. We both put magnet in at the same exact time.
That's awesome.
That's great. So this has been amazing, Gini. I am so glad that I attended. I don't know where else I would be, but I'm so glad I chose to be here with you, because I always feel like you're just pouring into us. And I took notes. I picked up tips, and I'm excited to continue my relationship with you, to grab your lead magnet. And I want to know if anybody in the audience has something specific in your business right now that you want to ask a question about that is pertaining to what Gini is talking about. If you do, please throw your hand up and let's get those questions in. Go ahead, Becky.
I'm not shy.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say I really am glad I came, because I've heard over and over from several people that you don't make money on podcasts, that they're just, you just put in time, you just get your face out there, blah, blah, blah. I don't have time to sit around and look pretty, because I'm number one, I'm way too old for that stuff. I want to go where I'm going to have do revenue producing, activities. And so I was holding back on that part. But after listening to this, I'm like, I have a plan, because I already have the lead magnet. I already have the stuff to do the thing. The workflow set up. I'm ready to rock and roll. So I'm going after it. I thank you. That just really, I'm glad I was here today. Thanks, Coleen.
Yeah, you're welcome, Becky. I would say that you should grab the replay link and share it with people who are naysayers next time, right?
Just yeah.
Maybe you're doing something wrong or something that could be improved on, so that we turn those podcasts around for you. Dr. Tina, go ahead. You're muted, my dear.
My question is, I'm actually starting a new podcast, and I want to know how you'd modify that, or whether you would modify that piece of advice, or whether it's exactly.
We can hardly hear you, Tina. Can you turn your volume up, maybe, please? We can't hear you at all now.
Yeah, you were really quiet before, but now.
Now it looks like you're actually muted.
Do you want to type it in the chat, and we can try to
type it in the chat, and we'll come right back to that.
Yeah.
Gerald, why don't you go ahead while we're waiting for her question?
Right. So, hi guys, my name is Gerald. I am the owner, a founder of DoSoMuch.com. It's basically a virtual staffing agency. And I just want to ask, so I started doing this not too long ago, just like a month, but I got lucky. And my first 2-3 clients, I think, was more of from a podcast as well. Although I wasn't the host or anything, there was just more of like an introduction to of thing. But now I want it more to be kind of like a predictable result compared to just luck, right? So one of the reasons why I joined this group because I wanted to see if there's something for me, if I'll be the one doing the podcast, but I don't know if there's like a type of thing that I should do in order to encourage people to maybe, so to get like virtual assistants to help them with their company. Um, yeah, can you enlighten me a little bit of that? Is there a specific type of like, I know about lead magnet. That's what I'm currently doing. And again, I think I was just got lucky about that lead magnet that I have. And also the funnels, everything was okay. I have the JHL set up, but like again, I want to see more of like, I think it would be better to network with people directly to my niche compared to like expending more energy towards like, for example, just an example, I run Facebook ads a little bit, but not really good about results. But I got more results when it was like podcast people talking, introduction, networking. So yeah.
So first, to answer the first part of the question was, should you start your own podcast or be on others? I recommend that you get on at least 50 podcasts before you decide to start your own. Starting a podcast it's a business all into itself. Nicole and Coleen can tell you, like, it's basically starting another business. It's a whole, it needs leads, it needs all the things. So I would recommend that you get on like 50 others before you decide to start your own. Now, if you still have the bug after that, then clearly this is something that you really want to do. And that's a bug that you need, you need to do that. Okay. What is your lead magnet?
So sorry, are you asking me, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. Right now people like business owners, basically. That's where I'm currently targeting execs, people in general, like even trainers, salon owners, people who are doing LinkedIn, chiropractors as well. With my 3 first clients, I got lucky because they referred 3 right away. It was chiropractor, 1 salon owner, and then the other one is, I think he's doing a little bit of like marketing on the side, sales trainer, something. But they're all referral from the same podcast that I attended.
That's awesome.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, so what I would say is, the more that you really speak to your target market in your talk, so we can talk, we can refer back to them and say, refer back to that target market, mention the clients that you work with, right?
Okay.
Mention the types of clients that you've been helping and the types of things that you've been helping them with. And then you want to be sure that whatever that lead magnet that you give is, that it's filling some sort of gap for them. So for example, it could be, what are the top interview questions that they should ask a virtual assistant before they hire them, right? Or if they're going to work with a company, what are the top 5 questions they should ask that company, right? Those would be some good options for a lead magnet for someone.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Really good one. Okay. So recently I had like a ton of success. Client reached out to me, get me a recommendation on LinkedIn as well. She's about to. And then she messaged me. Should that put like a content or something that should be put out?
So one thing you can do is, and then I know we're going to go to Tina. We've got like 3 other questions, so we're going to wrap this one up. But
okay.
What I would recommend is, you always want to have client stories. Like I told you guys about a client that just did a $300,000 sale off a podcast we recorded 3 years ago. I told you about another client who just made 2 back-to-back sales off a podcast, right? So you can always tie in those results. Every time you speak, you should always be speaking about your client results in addition to your content. And then that
Got it.
all right. I see
We're gonna
Adele
go to
next.
Tina next, actually.
Oh, who is it?
Tina next. Go to Tina next, Nicole. Okay. She's ready now.
Oh, okay.
All right. Can you guys hear me now?
We can.
Yes.
Oh, good. So my question was, I have a new podcast, and I'm wondering if it's if your advice with regards to the ask or the how to connect with me. Like I was thinking about creating ads for my podcast, to generate my business, to help me with my business. Would it also be a lead magnet, or can it vary, or how would you what would you advise if you had your own podcast?
So since you have your own, I mean, and these ladies can give you their experience as well. Yeah, I would still be doing lead capture. One of the biggest challenges that people have that start podcasts is actually converting their audience from listeners to subscribers, mailing list subscribers. They may be out there listening. They could have hundreds of thousands of listeners, but they're not converting. So yeah, running an ad of your own, right, midway through your talk can be good. And sending them through that lead magnet is a great idea. Again, the more evergreen, like Coleen said, that it is, right? Because somebody may listen to that podcast episode 2 years from now. So I do recommend that whatever you run, and you can have multiples, right? Since you kind of have the ad space, but I wouldn't recommend running more than one on an episode. We always want to be pushing the audience to take one single action at a time. A confused mind doesn't buy, and a confused mind doesn't take action. So what I wouldn't do, Tina, is have like 10 different offers on one episode. I would focus that one episode on creating an offer. So for example, like, and it could tie into the person even, right? But Coleen, like, she has a masterclass that's coming up. That's the thing that she's been promoting. It's coming up on April 1st, I believe, right?
Yep.
And so everything that Coleen says in this episode should be leading people to that masterclass. That would be my recommendation, Tina, is just per episode, just focus on them taking one action with you. Because there's also another action that they may take with the person who you're hosting. So that's 2 actions right there. We don't want to give them any more than that.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, do you guys want to go to Adele?
Yes, we do. Adele, welcome.
Thank you. Oh, is it unmuted? Okay.
You're good.
So thank you for everyone who you've sent to me. And I just want to say, going forward with my podcast, I'm going to take all these notes today and really change things up, because I've been flying by the seat of my pants. Right? But I think the biggest thing was, it's a separate business. I've been going, well, whatever, like, this is my business, and I have an offshoot of the podcast.
Yeah. It's a business. It's a micro, and for some people, it's a very big business. I mean, for some people, it's the dominant, it kind of even dominates over their own business. And you have to look at that, right? You have to say, how much space do I want this to take up? One of the reasons that hosts like me is that hosts enjoy working with me, is that I do send them qualified guests, and the guests are really good. And so it does take some burden off of them of looking for guests.
Yeah.
Or even, because even then, a lot of podcast hosts get pitched all the time. But when you have someone that you trust to send you good guests, it's like you can you don't have to worry about that avalanche of pitches. But yeah, you definitely want to pay attention to how much time are you spending?
Quick question.
Yeah.
Taking the subscribers to the email list. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So what I would recommend is, so even there, Adele, right on your screen, you have 2 actions for them to take. They can follow you on LinkedIn, or they can book a one-on-one. I would suggest only to book the one-on-one. I would take off the other QR code if that stays up on your screen all the time. And here's why. LinkedIn folks they're not leads. They're not subscribers, because you don't choose when you contact them. And at any point, LinkedIn can cut your account off. An email address is yours to communicate with until that person unsubscribes. So I would recommend only one action, which would be to either get your free gift or to book a one-on-one. So I would recommend probably a free gift URL on your QR code. Yeah, all actions only give the audience one thing to do.
And I will just add to that too, Adele, that when you get your leads, you should be able to download them to a CSV. And also when you're booking your podcast, if it's held on Zoom, this is the only platform I know, you can have all of your attendees register, which gives you their email list. And then you can take that as a CSV and upload it into your automations. Go ahead, Miss Lynn, my favorite Miss Lynn. Lynn, meet Gini. I love Lynn. She's an amazing networker.
Jenny, I just want to take a little different angle on this for a minute. I want to speak from somebody's angle who would be listening to the podcast or participating in the podcast. I think there's 2 things that maybe you can help people with, because I think they're very important. One is, I will tune out immediately if the guest is speaking in a monotone voice the whole time and it's so boring. I just think to myself, I'm going to pull my eyeballs out having to listen to this for 45 minutes or an hour. So I think they need to learn to change the inflection of their voice, talk more like they would normally. Many of them talk like they're a hostage. It's horrible. I think that's always important from the perspective of somebody listening. You don't want them tuning out for those reasons. And the second thing is, I think that many times when I've been a guest on a podcast, they've asked me to come up with a title. And I think that if what you're doing, and no offense to anybody, but if what you're doing is a boring area of business, let's just say it's marketing, and people say, I've heard market, they can't, if they give a boring title, because they usually ask you to present them with a title, if they give them a very boring title, people are going to pass and not even listen to the podcast. So I think that title could be very important in dragging them in to make them listen to begin with. And I think those are two things that a lot of people who are guests don't even think about.
Totally true. Totally true. So and that's one of the big things. So in the program that I run, we do speaker coaching twice a week because it's important. Here's what's happening that you're probably seeing happen, Lynn, is because they can get away with it. Right now, these are not notes for this show. These are notes of things I have to do, right? But I could take this little sticky note and I could stick it right up here next to the screen and I could read. And a lot of people do. And the number one thing that I do when people first come into my class is I'm like, I can tell that you're reading. Stop. You know your content, folks. All of you do. All of you know your content. So that's like when I said that I would give you guys the bonus of the aligned speaker formula. It's bullet points. It is bullet points. Now I did pull up what Coleen and I said that I was going to deliver on this talk. And I had it up here just so I could make sure that we hit all the points because it's important, right? That's what we advertised that we would do. I want to be sure I hit those, but yeah, don't read, guys. And it's just a crutch. You don't need it. You know your stuff, but that's where that monotone is coming from, is they're reading it. Because the moment that you take it away, I can take the most boring speaker, and the minute I take their notes away from them, they still come alive more than they would than they do otherwise. And I don't care. I'm a professional actress.
If they just spoke like they were sitting in front of that person and having lunch with them, you wouldn't read something to somebody you were having lunch with. You just talk about what you do.
Yep, exactly. And guys, when it comes to talk titles, absolutely. So when we give you a pitch template, when we give you the pitch template, I tell you, give them talk titles. When you pitch the podcaster, give them talk titles right there, right in the pitch, right? So you want to give them, at least 3 is a good number of talk titles. Don't make them think for you, like give them some, they may modify it, but give them something. Yeah. And I agree. I don't really recommend using ChatGPT for your talk titles very much. They all sound the same. Please, at the moment anyway, I'm not saying you can't use the word leverage, but the word leverage, for example, is overused at the moment. Every ChatGPT in the world is using the word leverage in the talk title. So what we want to do in our talk title is we want to speak to the results that the audience is going to get. One of my most popular titles is How to Create Lifetime Lead Flow by Getting on Podcasts. Right? Very simple. That is literally what we're talking about here. And it's a results driven. So I recommend that you, in your talk title, you speak to the results and you really are clear, not clever. We want the people to know what the heck they're getting on to learn. And if you are too clever, sometimes it's like, well, I don't even know what this is about. And it sounds like a gotcha. Sometimes they sound like a gotcha, right? It's like 10 things that every business owner needs to know. In what capacity? Right? Maybe I already know the things. Can you give me something more? Right. So yeah, I always recommend the results.
Gina, I have a girl who has a podcast and she owns a cleaning business. And that could be a very boring thing. Be the same stuff all the time. But her podcast is called Talk Dirty to Me. That already has people wanting to listen. And her title on one of them is the best I ever heard in my whole life. I would tune in just to hear this. She said, I don't care how big or small it is. I want to know when was the last time you cleaned it. Everybody's going to tune into that to figure out what's going on. That's what I'm saying. I think if the title is catchy enough, people will tune in. Yeah. And she's very clever about that. And that's why I think, 20 ways I can help your business grow. Who cares? We've all heard that before. But this is so clever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
all right,
Miss
Gini, this has been amazing. If today's conversation helped you, see things differently, make one clearer decision, or take a meaningful step forward in how you handle podcast, then it's done its job, because clarity creates momentum and momentum beats motivation every time. So thank you, Gini, so much, so much for joining us today. And we're going to skip the questions, the surprise questions I always ask, because we're out of time. But guess what that means? That means you get to come back and do this again sometime. And obviously the audience loved it. Everybody, let's give Gini a big thank you and send her some love. And Gini, did you get your lead magnet dropped? We did drop the greatleadmagnet.com.
And Speakers Playhouse is in there too. That's 90 minutes.
I want to say, I think every single person on this call got the lead magnet. So you guys are also all going to get that, that speak to self formula as well. That'll help you bullet out your talk and not script out your talk.
This has been amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Always appreciate meeting with you. You guys have the best week. And I have my masterclass Wednesday, April 1st, from tech chaos to control. Nicole, you have that link you can drop for me real quick.
I am dropping it now for you.
Simplify, automate, and delegate inside your business so you can build a business that virtually runs without you. And other than that, we'll see you back next Monday.
Thank you, Gini. Thank you, Coleen.
Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.